episode of Chillin with Da Pool. I'm your host with the most, Pirate Master Deadpool Supreme, here with my enigmatic co-host, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Adam Warlock. Yep, that's... good afternoon, everybody. Greetings and salutations. I am Adam Warlock, protector of Eridess, member of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and vice versa. Could not have put that better myself, Adam. Anyway, today we'll be diving into a special fun-filled issue right into the very own underrated heroine of the Marvel Universe. Can you guess who it is? Well, time's up. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I give you the unbeatable Squirrel Girl. Yep, that's right. She's a college-age student with all the strength and reflexes of a squirrel. Yes, as stupid as that sounds, it actually makes a lot more sense. She actually, believe it or not, she was 2015's premier breakout character. She was initially introduced back in the 70s as a joke character in an Iron Man comic, but eventually over the years she became so beloved they kept bringing her back issue after issue till she was given her own spin-off series in the books. And this is it. This is Squirrel Girl. Now, admit the art style is kind of a little bit touch and go for me, but the story is a tad can drag in a few places. But you cannot deny that Squirrel Girl is fun. She has her own supporting cast. Hell, she the greatest Craven story ever, besides Craven's Last Hunt, was actually inspired from Brain Drain, a mildly nihilistic but well-meaning brain android computer thing that actually was able to talk Spider-Man down from his revenge, or not revenge, but grudge match against Craven. And the fact, trust me, is Ryan North was a freaking genius when he wrote that. I mean, I don't know exactly what the link is to that, but if you just look up Squirrel Girl Craven story, then I'm sure you'll be able to find it. Trust me, when I first read that, I thought for sure when I first read it, I could have sworn my head popped. Because it actually made a lot more sense. And the fact that this was a brain, he actually used his powers of nihilism for something that's not bumming everybody out. Can you believe that? I know I can't. Anyway, let's take a look inside, shall we? Oh, well, pay no mind to the sticker. I actually got this issue at Ollie's. Ollie's just a bargain warehouse, for all your discount needs. That's what the episode is sponsored by. As you can see here, these pictures of Squirrel Girl are actually... See, look at these two. This is, see this picture? This is what Squirrel Girl actually used to look like back in the 70s. And this was her prototype outfit, too. And, of course, this is her when she was like 5 or 10 years old. See how cute she is? I know. Anyway, Squirrel Girl and her best friend Doreen, and as well as human brain or something like that, take on this self-divine foe. Kind of think of him like Multi-Man, like Multiple Man from the X-Men in a way. And it's basically just that, but for Squirrel Girl or Canadian, I guess. Anyway, the book's kind of a little bit all over the place, but anyway, this actually is pretty interesting because she's in a group chat with Spider-Man and Tony Stark. Can you believe that? And it actually shows what people would write with online. So it really shows that the writers really did their research on this. I mean, I know it shouldn't be a no-brainer, but you never know. And this is my favorite part is when, look at this. See how the human brain, see how the brain drain or something was holding up this car and everything? On this car and everything. This issue, or this picture right here, definitely pays homage to the very first issue of Superman comics back in the late 30s, early 40s. The picture, the iconic picture of Superman holding up a green Oldsmobile over his head, like in the pose you see here. That definitely shows that these guys really understood comics. And of course, Doreen Green is hanging out with her best friend, Nancy Whitehead. These two have been close since college, and they've kind of been hanging out ever since. And of course, she had and other superheroes are willing to keep everyone safe. Therefore, yes, we can take my mom up to Canada to have a girls' weekend only. And of course, here's the cabin. And of course, this it's kind of has the bare necessities or bare essentials, whatever you want to call it. Doreen is instantly bored out of her brains, but her mom is a total sweetheart. She and Nancy pretty much hit it all and get along like a house on fire. And of course, here are the magazines that you find in the cabin, especially in a Canadian cabin. The Constant Gardener, Bird Watching for one, Lake Enthusiast, Painting Quietly, and Earth Boring. And yes, you'll find that it is Earth boring. Get it? Because it's actually a different play on words of boring as in actually drilling and digging, and the other being the uninterested, dull, and lackluster. So it's kind of like a double meaning. Meanwhile, Brain Drain is doing his best to use his powers of blatant nihilism to stop criminals. Criminals, especially this guy, whom you'll see pop up in the issue later on. And as you can see, look at this. This is where he says, "Well, Mom, take this criminal to headquarters." And go, "One moment, officer. Your appearance is extremely similar to each other, but I confess that telling humans apart is a maddening endeavor. No further questions." Ha! And look at that. You think that the guy... Now, you'd think that this is almost like a comically racist thing because he's saying that both these two look alike. But the twist is, they actually are the exact same person, but he's just wearing... But this one's wearing a disguise. He can... So you think it's actually a nice little play on them because Brain actually really couldn't tell the difference between most human stuff apart, but not in a racist way. He's just more of a, I really don't still understanding the very grasp of humanity sort of way. And of course, you got Doreen and her mom. And of course, yep, this really helps to do a lot on Flesh to explore more of Maureen Green. Yes, that's Doreen's mother. Actually feel out what's going on here. Like, just get into her character a bit more. She's really always wants to do what's best for her daughter. And that's very wholesome and full heart and hearty. Yep, and you got the living brain up here. We're trying to pull a few switches. You got here. Okay, so basically the rundown is that he's like Ant-Man. This guy, I can't remember his name. Enigmo. Yeah, that's it. He's basically like Ant-Man and multiple man from the X-Men put together. He shrinks and stuff like Ant-Man, but can self-divide like cells in a human bloodstream or multiple man. So I guess he's kind of like a combination of the two. And he's using that ability to conquer North America, insert himself into the government, and basically take over it just so that way he can, better talk to himself. Standard supervillains with self-divisional powers and stuff like that. And of course, this scene here, pretty much they knock him out and they do a whole Gulliver's Travels sort of thing. If you haven't read that, it's kind of creepy, but in a way, it's kind of fascinating. So it's kind of like ones you really can't look away from. Of course, these just runners to the editor. And this, of course, you got the very issue from the front of the comic. You got Ant-Man teams up with Squirrel Girl and Tippy Toe to help take down Enigmo's forces. And everything. So, yeah. Like I said, the artwork over here kind of it's not everyone's cup of tea. It's not really mine. It feels kind of, too flat and everything. I get that they wanted to make it look cartoonish because, Squirrel Girl and her lighthearted adventures and stuff, but, it's just not really my cup of tea. Oh, look at this. Look, she even has her phone that it really says Lady Thor, or as I like to call her, Lady Thunderstrike. You got Howard the Duck. Just took over New York, and especially to my office. Apparently, Howard the Duck cannot type. And then you got Hulk Grunt. And then Amadeus Cho, or Brawn, as I like to call him. And apparently, he says, "We need you, overwhelmed." Messaging system. And you got Tony Stark, and you got Spider-Man. So it's like, if it's a cloning, I'm gonna flip the table over because you know how bad Spider-Man had with clones, so it always happens. Oh, look at this. It's because the New York Bulletin here even got a picture of the phone right here. Everyone in power is Enigma now, and that's great. Vigilante is still Enigma, all remaining superheroes to happily stand down any minute now. Yep, this is definitely Enigma, all right. Kinda with the eyes of a simple criminal. And look at that. You even have Deadpool's Guide to Supervillains. You got the lifter, who surprisingly looks suspiciously like Peter Dinklage. And of course you got Scott Lang, aka the second Ant-Man. So guess who they bring with them? Yep, that's right. They bring Scott Lang all the way from New York, and he is understandably not happy about being kidnapped and dragged all the way to Canada. So yeah, he's kind of a grouch at first, but you kind of understand why. Squirrel Girl tries to get him to warm up to him. I mean, he's still a bit hesitant at first, but then, like you said, he warms up to her eventually. And of course, and like any guy with Hot Wheels, he basically shrinks down his vehicles and carries them in a carrying case, kind of like kids do with Hot Wheels. And yes, that is still a thing, believe it or not. Some old things never die. Yep. So they basically, so they use Scott Ant-Man security solutions, and they take the Enigma instead of the Gardner Expressway down from Toronto, or to Toronto. And of course, yeah, the living human brain, or whatever he's called over here, is bulletproof. Bulletproof, so we can literally bounce off of everything. Scott apparently is now fed up with this, and after sacrificing his van, he's really not in the mood for talking. Squirrel Girl apologizes, and basically, and so Squirrel Girl decides to appease to his inner thief, pull off a heist, Ocean's 11 sort of thing. And stuff. So basically, apparently, in this version of Enigma, this part of Enigma was actually one of the good guys. Now you can all understand why they'd be so hesitant to trust him, but he assures them that he is actually still a good guy. He just got tired of having to put up with his darker, sorry, my mistake. I want to redact that. His evil self's motives. So he decides to join up with Squirrel Girl in their makeshift team. Look at that. When we last saw Squirrel Girl, she came up with a plan to heist freedom back. Yeah, that's right. She's going to steal freedom back, just like our forebears in the days of old. Scott's like I said, Scott is initially hesitant of trusting this guy, but Squirrel Girl is willing to give him a fair chance. Back in the day, he used Enigma reveals himself that back in the day he used to be a boxer and everything, but and he says, well, there were times where that I can see the violence and bigotry in our world and figured, you know what? I could literally do better. But I never saw it, but apparently he never saw it in himself. Because he thought taking over a lot, especially in childhood, but showed him genuine kindness, even after he'd lost his career as a boxer. And apparently, Scott's idea of a heist is, well, very, very, very short. Because instead of the whole fictional movies, it's like fictional. They don't work. Something always goes just a little bit wrong. Something always just goes a little bit wrong, and then everyone ends up in jail again. And to be fair, folks, Scott's not wrong here. Real life, fictional heists always go wrong, and it depends on the writer who is constructing them, and vice versa. So he may be cynical about it, but he's also right. So take that with a grain of salt, if you will. Now, the funny thing is about apparently Toronto, and apparently these billboards also come up with convenient plot. These billboards, super hilarious plot conveniences. Welcome to Toronto. Our city hall has a large open public space out front. Not to mention lots of convenient food trucks and souvenir stands. And he goes, perfect. We'll also use the library. Billboard. It's like we'll also can help Enigma to complete his education as quick as possible. Look at this one. It says, also, our city hall has a free public library. We are very proud of our socialized public services. And he's like, man, these billboards are starting to get pretty sassy. He goes, plus, like all of Canada, we offer up to 50 weeks paid time off if you have a baby. That's compared to the mere 12 weeks available in America, and that's unpaid leave. So what the heck, America? Okay, if this is definitely Canada taking a jab at America's healthcare system, and I don't blame them. Considering what is going on in the world nowadays, I think they're right. The billboards are getting sassy, and for the right reasons too. Okay, so Scott and Team Squirrel Girl all enact their plan to stop Enigma. And Nancy and Maureen pretty much hit it, don't say hit it off, but they instantly become best friends, and like I said, they get along like a house on fire. And he goes, yeah, well, I'm still pretty sore about my van. Classic Scott. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're almost about out of time for part 1, but tune in this Thursday for part 2 of Squirrel Girl. But before we wrap this up, here's something that you kids gonna learn about this. This one actually got me really smart and everything. I mean, sorry, it got me really smart, but this one actually seemed to prove a lot when dealing with giant or size-altering characters within comics. He says exactly. He became giant with no problem thanks to cosmic rays, and when ants pin particles that do the heavy lifting to stop him from collapsing in on his own weight. And you know where this is? Galileo's square cube law from physics class. Now pay attention, boys and girls. This actually can help you out. The teacher says, square cube law. As things get bigger, their surface area is a square of the growth factor, but their volume is cubed. Galileo discovered it. I drew him because I am a good professor. That one was just pretty for comedic effects, so that's pretty much it. Anyway, he states here that put it another way. Make yourself 10 times larger. Your muscles get 100 times as big, but you have to carry 1,000 times more weight. It's like that's why elephants look like elephants and not giant mice. You can't just scale up animals and expect them to work. And yes, you can get around these restrictions with certain cosmic rays or exotic articles. I am of Pim's work, thank you. And it's hard not to be when he published journal articles like, "Ha ha, I'm giant man now. Screw you, all other physicists." that's definitely Hank Pym's repressed ego for you. I'm just saying. He also says, but without cosmic rays or Pym particles, any animal made giant will absolutely break its leg with the first step it takes. Remember this well, students. For the physics facts, I have just shared with you may one day save your lives, if not the lives of everyone on the planet. So basically what the professor is trying to say is, if the say you grow 10 times big, your muscles grow 100 times as big, and thus, as such, the muscles have to carry 1,000 times the weight to compensate. So, like how ants carry twice their own weight and everything. Their exoskeletal muscles provide them with this extra strength they need to carry such weight. Yep, ladies and gentlemen, that's your scientific fact for the day. And we are just about out of time for part 1. Stay tuned. Tune in this Thursday for part 2 of Squirrel Girl's attempts to save New York. Will she be able to heist back freedom? Only time will tell. So, until next time, true believers, Excelsior.